I'm here with Larry Sisco of IronStrong Metal Fabrication. we're here in central Pennsylvania, and we're having a real and honest conversation about the work that they do and about the people who do that work. So, Larry, thank you for stepping up to the line with me here today.
Appreciate the opportunity.
I really appreciate it. So, talk to us a little bit. Tell us about, how did we get here? How are we on this floor? Because you're a part owner in this company, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what gets you to being a part owner of a company doing metal fabrication? For those who are listening also, maybe even before we get into that, talk about a little bit what type of metal fabrication IronStrong does, and for people who don't know what that is.
Yeah. Here at IronStrong, we do all different types of custom.
Do you
metal
see how he
fabrication.
corrected me because I said his name wrong there? It's IronStrong Metal Fabrication. I've said IronStrong twice now.
We do all of it. We're a custom job shop that does a pretty mix of production and prototyping. Anything from aluminum, carbon, stainless steel. We've done just some bolts to huge walls that go into grocery stores you go into every single day. So it's pretty wild. Just kind of follow up on your question. I never thought I'd be an owner of a company.
Yeah.
I grew up hating it.
What did you hate about it?
I just didn't like it. My father has a metal fabrication company in New Jersey, and at 3 years old, I'd go in on the weekends. He'd give me steel, and that was fun. I liked just taking scrap metal and welding it.
Yeah.
And then it became more as a punishment use for us in high school. But if my brothers and I would ever get suspended or in trouble, you had to go work for dad for free. And we all said the same thing. We all hated it.
I love that.
We all tried college.
My kids are listening. I have a new idea.
We all tried college. And then I was working for my dad full time because I needed to make some money.
Yeah.
And ended up liking the money more than college.
It's funny how that works.
Mm-hmm. And then just went full time with him. And it was my dad, my brother, and myself for a while. Yep.
Wow. It's interesting, your story there and the way that you talk about that. My father was in construction, and I swore I would never be in construction.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not, for very similar reasons. I would go to work with him, and it was not something that I wanted to do. But if I wanted to make money, especially early on in my early years, Dad didn't care about child labor laws, so it was the place that I could actually go and make money before anybody else would hire me.
Mm-hmm.
And then later in life, it was like, hey, I need your help with this, or hey, I need to do this, and I was like, but then I ended up in construction. So now you're an owner. You're here at IronStrong. When you left off where you were, trying to get money to pay for college, and so. Take me back to that. Where did you go from there?
I just was working for my dad full time, and ended up getting to the point where I wasn't a fan of college. I was doing well, I had great grades.
So what were you not a fan of?
It seemed too political, and they were just following regiment. Like I wanted more of that one interaction.
Yeah.
With certain classes were great, we got it. But other teachers, they would just come in, clock in, go out. It wasn't personal enough for me to like. And then once I started doing stuff with my father and learning more, then I started appreciating it and liking it. And it was nice. So I treated him like he was a boss.
Yeah.
My brother treated him like he was a dad.
Yeah.
They clashed all the time. My dad and I got in one fight, and that was the day I quit and moved out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your brother older or younger?
I have an older brother and then a younger brother. And it's funny, all three of us are thriving in metal fabrication. We all hated it, wanted no parts of it, and we're all crushing it.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why do you think all three of you are thriving in metal fabrication?
I think it's just one of those, it's in our blood. My dad did it. My grandfather did it. His grandfather did it. It's just blue collar, and the appreciation of it. They don't own the company, so I get to see a different realm of it.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's kind of seeing it come 360. Now my father calls me up asking for certain questions, how we did this, because he did some things wrong when he started business, which kind of gave me a bad taste. And now he's asking me questions. I'm like, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
My dad, who I learned all my morals from as far as business. This is the way to handle things. This is how you do it. And that's how I've always tried to do things.
So you went from, college to working for your dad, and then, you quit and you moved out here, because originally you were from New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was dating my wife, who I'm married to now. We were dating, and I was commuting on weekends to come see her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So then, is that when you went out on your own, or
No? So I moved out here in 2015.
okay?
Found a place in Effort I was at for 5 years. Left there, and that's where I met Sean at that place.
And Sean is your business
Sean's
partner?
my business partner.
Okay.
He went to a different place from there, and then he had called me up 9 months later. Hey, I'd like you to come in here. You're going to kind of take a couple steps back, but this is where we can go as far as growing with the company. And we did it. We were growing, and then we just decided, we're going to do this on our own.
Yeah. Why?
And that's where I also met Derek, my other business partner. So we all kind of worked with each other.
Okay.
And had that understanding and knowledge of what each of us could do and kind of bring.
What was the number one reason that you were like, well, we're going to do this on our own? What was the trigger?
We were told to stop growing.
You were told to stop growing.
Yeah. They had wanted us to grow this portion of the company. We're doing it, and it was going great. And then they said, stop. And we said, you know what? We're not going to stop. We're just going to do it ourselves.
Why do you think? So this is really interesting to me because we have some clients in the metal fab world that, and some different people that we work with. And there's one in particular, their story sounds almost exactly like yours in metal fabrication, where these guys were a part of a much larger company and they were growing a division, and it was like, yeah, we don't want that. And now they have their own company. They travel the country doing projects that are ridiculous, making things that you wouldn't think of. Like, we're talking problem solving on a level that I have not seen before, and involved in projects where the resources, which that's the code word I use for money, are vast. And so when you have to problem solve and your client's like, I don't care, it really changes it. So why is there that thing? Why do you think they were like, slow down or stop growing? Because I've heard that before.
It could, like I said, we don't really know. It could have been a resource thing. It was just going too much. And I don't really know. I mean, that's part of it. The other ones is like Sean and I, operated a certain way. Like I said, like we were talking earlier, we sprint.
Yeah.
We don't want to walk and take baby steps. We want to go. We have the vision. We're going to go execute it and figure it out.
Yeah.
And there are times it's going to be on my time. Like, I'll work late hours. We'll do what we have to do to constantly drive that success to get to our end vision.
So, Larry, is most of your training from your dad in this, that you got into this, or did you actually take some schooling?
I didn't take any schooling. It's just so I got all of my kind of structural steel background from my father, because that's what he did. And then that was a lot of field and some shop.
Yeah.
And then when I moved out here, it was all shop. And that's when I fell in love with the shop environment. Like, this is the environment I fell in love with. Like, I hated going out in the field, dealing with the elements. Like, coming in here, it's something new every day. Or when one place I was at, it was just production, but I knew what I was doing. And they had times that I had to beat. And I took that as a personal, like, all right, let's try and crush that time. And that's kind of how we still operate. With myself here, I do a lot of the quoting.
Okay.
So I know what times are going on there, and we try and be as transparent with them. Hey, these are the times.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like, do we want to do it or not do it? Because you're going to have some people on our team will try and knock that time out of the water. Some people are like, oh, great, I have 8 hours to do this. Even though they can get it done in 6, they'll stretch it out. But you know what? They hit their times, they hit their times. Yeah. And that's kind of what our goal is. Yeah. And we let them know, we reward, hey, you guys cranked it. You guys hit your times. Fantastic.
So I want to ask you a different question. It's kind of we're going in a different direction here. But I keep seeing your name on your shirt, and I still can't get it right, which is ridiculous. IronStrong Metal Fabrication, and then I see your logo.
Yeah.
I want to understand and know some of the origins of your name and your logo, because I kind of have a thing for brands.
Sean and Andrea, all three of us were just throwing names out there, and we couldn't figure anything out. And, I liked PowerStrong was kind of one. Yeah. And then they were like, how about IronStrong? Like, sweet. And then they were just doodling, and, it's hard to tell, but like there's an I and an S in there.
Oh, I see it.
And then it just stuck out. And that is one of the most things that we get talked about is the logo.
Really?
It's like, where'd you get that from? Like, they love it,
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. And that it stands out because there aren't a lot of other places that have a logo that kind of stands out like that, other than like letters and whatnot.
Well, if you're going to build a brand, then you need to have a brand. It's just the way that it works.
Yep.
And you know, it's one of the things that I think is super important, and especially in the trades, I think that people don't understand how much it matters. But a lot of it comes from forward thinking. If you can have a vision and think for the future, and take the time to build a brand that you can continue to build on. I mean, you think about companies that have been around for eons. They built a brand because it's not a name, you know, it's not Larry Sisco Fabrication. Because what does that look like when you're not here anymore? Like if you're building a company that is going to exist after you're gone, then it has to be a brand, because that way people can come and they can be a part of it, and they can actually identify with the brand and become a part of the brand, and it becomes their company. Very much like, so I'm not a big football guy, but my boys are. And I watch them watch football and they feel like they're on the team. Like they talk about the team like they have ownership on it, and we don't. You know, and it's like, but that's because they identify with the brand. You know, and when we can do that, and I think it's one of those things that's overlooked by companies, especially those of us who are about the work. It's like, that's frou-frou. It's not that important, but then it stands out. And you have clients talking about it, and that differentiates you for sure. I mean, I pulled in here this morning, and there was no mistaking the IronStrong trucks. I love your brand.
We get seen all over the place. It's great. And like, oh, I saw you here. That was my driver.
Yeah.
And I think a portion of the branding port is because when you're starting a company, you're focused on where your resources are going to go. And branding definitely kind of, oh, it's just a name. No one's going to think about it. And we were kind of that way. I think it was just one of those things, you know, Andrew and Sean really did well. And, you know, we kind of, you know, hit the lottery with that one. I would say. So it worked out.
Well, I mean, the reality is, you know, I think you also hit the lottery with it coming out of Doodles, because, you know, brand logo and marketing like that, it's not inexpensive. And when you're starting, every dollar counts. Who am I kidding? Every penny counts. You know, it's like, it's, I feel like when I started my first business, it was like the Wizard of Oz, and they pulled back the curtain. And there are days where I wish that I could put the curtain back. You know, it's like when you pull back the curtain and you see what's there and you realize what's there, it's almost impossible to go back to the way that it was. So,
and it is, you know, it's definitely, even from where Sean and I came from, the respect we have for them now. Like, we thought we knew everything starting in the business. You know, we learned real quick. We know a small percentage, and we're still like, we just sat our 6-year anniversary.
Congrats, man.
We don't,
awesome.
Thank you. We don't kid anyone here. Everyone here knows, like, we're still learning. We're young. You know, we're shop guys who worked our way up, and this is what we're doing, and we're learning it. We didn't have any kind of business education other than Andrea. She just, you know, congrats to you, Andrea. She just finished her master's from Penn State. She just graduated on Sunday. So she's our CFO. So she's been the one helping us. And that was one.
CFOs matter.
And that's where I could say, you know, Sean and I definitely took her for granted at the beginning. She's like, no, you guys, we can't do this. And Sean like, no, we're doing it. She's like, all right, let it go. And now we're kind of like, oh man, she was right. You know, as we learn. And that's why she's such a crucial role in this company. Like I said, CFO are important. She keeps us in check. She's really helped us get our books in line. This is what we could spend. Here's our budget. Here's our cost analysis in every job. And it's wild how much more goes into it that you don't think about.
Well, and I think, you know, you and Sean are flying the airplane, so to speak. And the navigator is super important in that role. Like, you guys are sprinting, and that's who you are. But if you don't have her to say, hey, there's a mountain coming up here, or terrain, or we're going to run out of fuel, like, those are really important things. And that's why collaboration is so important. So before I want to move on, and I want to ask you some questions about IronStrong and some of that journey and transition. But before I do, I have a question that I ask everybody. What's a tool or piece of gear that Larry just cannot live without?
I don't know if it would be tools or gear. I would honestly, and it kind of cliche, but my business partners. You know, we work really well together, and none of us could do this without each other. Like I said, I couldn't imagine having to do what I'm doing now, plus doing the books, having to help out with operation, and still help try and be in a visionary of this business. You know, having 4 of us has been we're crutches for each one of us to lean on, and we've really helped secure a strong foundation with the four of us as the columns of it.
I love that. You said that earlier. There's like four columns or pillars that support
Yep.
our business, and that is our
Yep.
partnership.
Yep.
Can you give us an example of where you really learned that value in that? Because it's not something that you start off on day one and you're like, yeah, I understand how important this is. If you're making statements like that, then you've been through some things where you're like, no, I need her in this CFO role, or I need Sean in this role, or like, can you share with us a story of
This past whole
Yeah.
year? So we had a record-breaking year. I mean, the four of us were burning at each ends, and it was one of those. How could I put it? We supported each other. You know, we were getting into a project where we were doing a lot of just the material and fabrication end of it, and the customer's like, "Hey, can you start assembling for us?" We've never done any assembling here, but the way we looked at it, Sean and I, we were out on the floor. I was here at 1 a.m. assembling. So I wanted to, we're going to be, this is a repeat customer that's growing.
oh yeah,
They want us to do this. I'm like, if we're doing it, I'm going to figure out the times. That way I could teach how to do it
smart.
and how to learn it. And that would, but it also, catch 22, I'm not involved with too much of the team members on the floor just because I'm too direct and blunt and just one of those, I'll go right to the point rather than trying to, hey, it's like Sean's much more finesse with that. But so I would see them and talk to them, but when they all saw
I love your
me
honesty.
out on the floor, especially with Sean, they're seeing two owners on the floor
Yeah,
working with each other
yeah.
on the floor with the guys, and we started interacting, and everyone loved it. But the downside of that, I want like a 360 camera. I saw everything.
Right.
But it was nice but then they saw how tired we were getting, so they were trying to help us.
Wow.
And then Andrea's big focus, which really helped us see, she's like, this is our budget. We need to hit these numbers. So we got weekly numbers every week that I had to sell that amount every week with my project managers. And then Derek had to make sure we got out to invoice. So it became a little competition, but it held each one of us accountable. But it does cause a lot of stress, but we needed it.
Yeah.
And it showed us how much we were growing, how profitable we were doing this year. And just seeing like all the things that we were like, no, we don't need to do this. And Andrew bringing it to this, all of us kind of really got together to focus.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to grow. And it showed this year. This whole year really showed how important all four of us are, because not one of us could have done all of this together.
I think that, that's one of the things that is so awesome about teamwork and collaboration is what you can do together. And actually, even to the point of stress, and I would go as far as to say the word hardship. These are not negatives. When you have a team of people and you can work through those things, it is just like going to the gym and working out. You're making that muscle stronger.
Yep.
You're building that. And when you can have, something that we talked about earlier that you said your team has here, and it all starts with leadership. Like the leadership team, the company will follow. And so you talked about collaboration and trust, and how you guys, between the four of you, you have this trust. And I think Sean said transparency.
Yes.
And, Sean, if you're listening to this, I cringe every time someone says transparency, because I don't like that word. And let me explain why. We say we want to have an honest conversation. Transparency, I believe, removes trust, because, and I'm big on word definition and the study of words, but I think it removes trust, because you're like, well, I have to see everything. When a team can, and I believe that you guys have what I'm talking about here based on what I heard, and that's honesty, which means you're not going to hide anything from anybody.
No.
You're not going to. So that's the mentality, because we can't remember to tell everyone everything. And if that's how it has to work, then there isn't trust. But if there's trust, then you have an honest relationship. And when you have that honest relationship, it's like, hey, Sean, I'm struggling with being too blunt here with this guy, or I was too blunt. How do I deal with that? And that you feel like you can talk with him about that, and vice versa. It sounds like if you are self-aware of that aspect of you, and let me just be clear, I have that same trait, but that you're self-aware because your team probably lets you know that, because you have honest communication and you don't not talk about things.
Yeah. And that's where I reach out, like fix that. I try and talk with everybody, because it bothered me you know, I'd come out on the floor and everyone stop and look. Like, no one here has ever seen me flip out. I've never really screamed at anyone.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do I have this persona? You know,
Yeah.
of like, why is everyone terrified on the floor? So I try and talk with them, and working on the floor, it loosened everybody up, you know, and we try and talk. And Sean and I are very, if there is an issue, we're going to let you know about it. We're not going to just hide anything or let it build, and all of a sudden, hey, you know, this isn't working.
Yeah.
You know, we try and handle it. And we really try and preach as an open door policy. It's rare, any blue collar place, especially in metal fabrication, people are going to come in and just talk about their problems. Usually we swallow it and keep going.
Yeah.
But, you know, what we have, which is also a big portion of the four of us, you know, if one of our team members comes in and is having an issue, a personal issue, you know, we talk about it, we all know about it, but then we all individually go talk with that person. How's it going? Constantly check, you know, text on, hey, how's it going? You know, and how's the family going? How are the kids? Try and just, it's hard. I know places treat it as a family environment. I get it. But it's still a business, but we try and do as much as we can. Hey, how's the family? You know, we walk around, I want to have a 5-10 minute conversation, not work related.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about just personal. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Sean's much better at it than I am because I'm in 8 different places at the same time. And which is funny, a lot of the team members here know, they'll be having a conversation with me. They know I'm listening, but they know I'm also working on something else in my head at the same time. It's just, that's how I've always operated.
Yeah.
And I'm very like, and they're all aware of it. And I try, and I'm also self-aware of it. I try to like give them the respect, stop what I'm doing, especially if they come to my office. Like, all right, get off their computer and look at it. You know,
Sounds like you guys are in that transitional phase. I mean, you're celebrating 6 years and you have grown a lot in 6 years.
yes.
And it sounds like you're in that phase now where you're like, I need to work on the business, not in the business.
Yes. And it's funny. We are all in multiple peer groups.
Yeah.
And one
that's
peer group,
essential.
they all said to all of us, you know, you guys, you're at the point you need to stop working in it, work on it. I'm in another group that's funny. It's a whole bunch of fabricators.
Wow.
In this York and Lancaster County that we all got together, and like there's this community is so tight knit that let's get together. So like we meet once a quarter. So I'm with a lot of big name people around here, and then also a lot of my competitors. So it's weird sitting in that room, but everyone, the trust there is very, nothing leaves here, and they're open. Like they know I'm competing, but it's also, we try and work. Like I'll send work out to them, they'll send work to me, but they've all said the same thing. They've all heard our name other than just knowing me personally in the group.
Yeah.
Like our name's been growing, and they said with how much you're growing and what you're telling us, you need to start working on it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's going to grow, and you can't be in it anymore. You know, and our first step with that was probably 5 years ago. We hired Kyle Jones, who's our operations manager, and I was always doing the fabrication in the shop.
Yeah.
And the biggest throw was me handing the keys over. I handed the keys over, and I was
a lot of guys can't do that.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened in project managing. You know, we hired one of the fabricators on the floor. Maddie showed interest, so we brought her in. She was working under me, and I handed over 2 of our largest customers, which were my babies. And I was like, I can't do this. And then, you know, a week after, I was like, oh, this is fantastic.
That is why you guys are growing the way that you're growing.
Building that trust and we really try, especially in the office, me personally, I don't want to micromanage.
Yeah.
If I have to sit there and micromanage, I could do it myself. I want to try and, I don't want to give you the opportunity to fail, but failing is the only way, or stumbling is the only way you're going to be able to grow as a person, and I'll help you along the way.
Right.
You have questions? I'll help you along the way. But like, I hated being micromanaged or someone hovering, and I know my team in the office doesn't like it. So we give them the opportunity to go ahead. You have questions? Come ask. We'll sit there and we'll talk about it, and we'll get it figured out. So.
Have you guys ever heard of, so you talk about working on the business and whatnot. One of the most interesting things that over the years that I've learned is how to understand communication. And we implement in all of our organizations and with some of the companies that we work with, Strengths Finder. Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever taken the strengths test?
I have not.
So,
I've heard of them. I've never.
It's from Gallup, you know, and it's different than, and everybody likes the ones that they like. You know, if there's Myers-Briggs or whatever it is, but this is different in the sense of it literally talks about how you're wired. And so when you talk about those things, I would just encourage you to give it a shot, especially your leadership team, because you would be amazed at how it identifies some of who you are. Matter of fact, when our first company did it, we had a consultant come in, and they gave our entire leadership team
Yep.
that test, and I took it, and I was so blown away with how it's kind of like when you put things on paper and you're like, oh, that's me. It solidifies it in your mind. And so I immediately, when I went home, I bought a code for my wife to take it. Now, we don't work together in the business, but we do live together and do life together. And and the way that I got her to do it was I showed her mine. She goes, "This is you. How did it identify?" And it literally drills down into, so like my top 5 strengths, and it's a 1 through 34 strengths, and it talks about uh, the way that you're wired. And the way that I would put it is your top 5 is like, that's like a highway. You know, all of them are strengths, but it's like when it goes all the way down to 34, well, then you're off-roading. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and so for me, like, number 1 was an arranger. Like, I like to move the pieces around. Number 2 was responsibility. To this day, I feel responsible for every employee's check. Every guy that ever gets hired, when I look at them, I feel a level of responsibility for them and their family. And that's pretty typical of owners to be wired that way. But the other thing that it does is when you look at that with your team, you're able to be like, oh, this is how I can communicate. And you kind of cut through the noise and get to the heart of it. And so it's just a very interesting thing. They're put on by Gallup.
Yeah, I want to look into that.
It's pretty cool.
But just like your responsible thing, you know, when we first started out, we had an employee who got hurt in the job, or in the shop, and I felt responsible because I was doing something, he was watching. I got a phone call, and I was like, "Hey, just keep heating. I'll be right back." Not even thinking of it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I heard a slam. He hurt his foot.
Wow.
It ate away at me.
Yeah.
Like, my wife was like, "What's wrong with you?" And she always saw like the you know, whatever. But like it ate away at me. I felt terrible, you know. But
So
it just,
and how do you deal with? Because for me, that's one of the most debilitating things, because responsibility is so high in my strengths test. It comes with shame sometimes when I make a mistake. And honestly, when other people make mistakes, I often can feel like it's my fault anyway, especially since I'm the boss or the one leading. And that can become debilitating to me. How do you deal with that, Larry?
Honesty. You know, like in the 4 of us business partner, we make mistakes. We're very open about it. You know, what also helps, we're all really close.
Yeah.
So we all kind of nag on each other, like bust each other about it type deal, which helps. But just accountability, you know, just being able to just say, I messed up, move on.
So you use the word accountability, and I've told you that I really like words. Define that word for me. What does it mean to IronStrong accountability, and what does it mean to your leadership team?
That's a good one. I'm working on this. Accountability to me is ownership on a mistake or a success that one did, and figuring out how to improve or move from it.
That's good.
That's the way I look at it. As a leadership team, we're still working on it, but it's kind of visual the same way. Like, I think a big pet peeve of mine is when someone tries to pass the buck, like instantly. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
I wasn't blaming you. I came out here to, hey, this is all, like, hey, so I'm going through everything. I'm seeing this happen. Oh, I didn't do that. So and so did. I'm like, I didn't ask that. I said, I just was seeing, like, all right, I need to figure out a root cause of what's going on and how could we grow from there.
Yeah.
You know, and then I go to the person. Yeah, that was my fault. Awesome, great.
Yeah.
You know, and that's accountable. So that's where we try and, like, all right, accountability needs to go this way. Like, because I'm coming to talk to you about it. I'm not pointing my finger at you. You know, you're in trouble. It's like, hey, how can we fix this for future potential issues, or how to keep growing on it on top of it?
You know, you talk about pointing your finger. I had an old timer once say to me, and I'm going to teach you a trick that I learned. And he's like, you know, when you point a finger at someone, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. And it pissed me off. And I was like, oh. And so then one of our team is a military guy, and he said, yeah, well, if you knife hand someone instead of pointing at them, he goes, even if you're pissed, it can be like, you know, and you're not pointing back at yourself. So you just knife hand, you don't point fingers.
Yeah.
But I mean, you touch on something I think that's really important, and also learning communication in the sense of how you present it. Like, it's really important. Hey, I'm not saying that that's your fault, or did you do it or didn't you do it? Because often leaders in your position are coming into a situation, and the first thing that they need to do is gather data. and it's like the team needs to understand, hey, this isn't accusatory. I've had to learn over the years that what would I call it? So like my voice has an echo. I have a title, and titles are meaningless, but on my business card it says chairman. And when I'm in the field and I'm talking with someone and I'm the chairman of their organization, my voice has a much louder echo than maybe someone else. And so I need to be really aware of how do I say that. And so I've had to really learn of, when I'm communicating with a team member, well, how do I say this, and am I saying this in the right way? And where it really gets rough is when I also usually get involved with things and problem solving when there has not been very much success in problem solving. So it's usually a high stress, intense situation. And I can be very good in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But you might relate to this. I'm not saying that you do. But I also can be very, what's the word that I want to use? My brain kind of slows down, and and my communication speeds up. And is what I mean by that is we can be you ever be in a car accident and you feel like it goes into slow motion? That's what happens in a crisis. I love being in a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I respond and bark orders in a crisis can make people feel like I'm knife handing them.
Yeah.
With a knife, you know.
So what's really helped with that is kind of learning our team members as far as what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what drives them.
Come on.
That's a big one. So learning, like, we have some of our guys who they want overtime nonstop, so we'll go to them. Or we have some employees that were, you know what, I would rather have, more vacation time.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of go that direction. Then we have some of them that be very direct to me, don't beat around the bush. It's usually the older heads that are very, talk to me this way. And then younger generation, but word it around a little bit differently. So it's just knowing how to talk to them, what's going to tick, finding out their triggers. And sometimes to find out their triggers is finding out their triggers, knowing what it is and kind of go. But that's where then, all right, if I could find your trigger, that also could show me a weakness that we can work on.
Yeah.
That really shouldn't be a trigger. If you're in a leadership role, you got to take away that trigger you have.
Oh, absolutely.
To kind of into that realm. And that's why any of our two foremen, we've been very open. Hey, it's different getting into the leadership role. Like, you could be great friends with your team. Now you're in this role and you have to go, I don't want to say reprimand, but go, speak to them, correct them, give them, critiques. Yeah. They're not going to take it,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think you touch on something that's really key is if you're going into leadership, you have to be willing to talk about that stuff. You have to be, you say you got to hone your triggers down. And I work with a manufacturing company in fabrication, ironically, but it's more on the manufacturing side. And they actually make trigger assemblies for guns. And there are different levels of a trigger assembly, like meaning you can have one that you barely touch and it pulls the trigger. And then you can have one that they want the trigger pull to be pretty difficult because they want you to know that you're pulling the trigger.
Yep.
And I think in leadership, that's one of the things that is really, really important is you can't have a hair trigger. Like, yeah, sometimes you need to pull the trigger and you need to have the hard conversation and you need to do stuff, but you can't allow yourself to be triggered. It has to be something that you're in control of, which usually means that you're not pulling it when you think you should or when you're irritated. That's been a rule that I've established for myself is if I'm pissed off, I'm going to go for a walk before I deal with that situation.
And that's what we tell everyone here. If you're losing it, you're having an issue, put it down, go tell, hey, Tyler, I need to walk, or Kyle, Larry, I need to go take a walk. You tell everyone that. Or like even my PMs in the office who are struggling, spiraling out, I'm like, stop what you're doing, take a walk, come grab me or somebody else to come give you an assistance, because what's going to happen, you're going to keep spiraling down that hole and it's going to explode even more. And I don't understand, like, just ask for help. Like, go take, if you're mad, don't lash out at somebody because that's just going to open up more.
I'm reading a book right now called Don't Try This Alone. And I think that is an essential thing that we must remember is, and it comes back to everything that you said, even about your leadership team, and that is, don't try this alone. Whether it's on the leadership team or whether it's on the floor out here in the shop, you got to be able to talk to people, because otherwise you end up spiraling, and often you don't even realize that you're spiraling or to what level. And back to triggers, identifying what are yours, how can I be sensitive to that, and then how can I pull in my team members to help me deal with it.
A book for me that set me in this path of like, because usually I would, like I said, a few years ago I was in that trigger, like, something pissed me off, or I'd go at it, or if someone wanted to pull my trigger, I'm going to pull yours right back. So what helped, and which is crazy, is that Sean, Derek, and Andrew all saw it, is How to Win Friends and Influence Others.
Oh, by Carnegie, yes.
That is my favorite, and it is wild.
It's actually a mandatory read for my leadership team.
How that opened up, and how I started interacting with everyone differently, and just how to gauge it, change myself mentally, which was wild.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a book. I mean, and I didn't read it. I heard it on Audible. Like I was
That's
at the gym,
same as reading a book.
I was in the sauna. I know. Everywhere in the car, I just was hooked on it.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized I loved it. I was infatuated with it, and I'm just actually halfway through doing it again.
Oh yeah, that is a multiple read book. I've read it multiple times.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Just examples of what they used in the past.
I think that's the thing that I love about it too. It was written so long ago, and it's still so appropriate.
Yes.
It's I mean, it's huge, and that's hysterical. That is one of my favorites. We have our team, when certain team members are required reading, because we want our team to be on the same level and have the same understanding. Another one that's really old that you might like is called The Go-Getter. It's only about this thick, but it is an awesome read, and especially if you're wanting people to understand what it is to go after it. So.
Yeah, there's a couple Leaders Eat Last I like.
I just read that for the first time.
Atomic Habits.
I've not read that one.
There's some good ones.
That's awesome.
So it's funny. Read it, I was never.
Me neither.
And as soon as I read the Carnegie, I'm like, oh, what else can I get? I'm like, look at this. Let me look at this. Let me look at this.
I'm a voracious reader now. I typically am, between Audible and physical reading, I'm typically reading about 3 to 4 books at a time. Audible helps that, but I usually am reading 1 or 2 physical books, and then 3 books that I'm listening to, like on the plane or traveling or whatever. I actually believe that leaders are readers, and it is super important, because it comes back to that self-awareness and being aware of where you're at. I had a conversation with someone, and they were part of a pretty big family, and they had some trauma in their family. And I remember asking them, well, what is it that you're not like the rest of your family? And they were going down some pretty gnarly paths. And she had shared with me, and she goes, well, early on in my life, I started reading books. And she said, it changed my perspective. And I realized, oh, this stuff that I grew up in and I lived in, this isn't normal. This isn't okay. And it's like, there are things that we grow up in the workforce that we don't know that it's not okay. We don't know that, we shouldn't be doing that. And we need to continually be focusing on growing and learning. So
that's the same thing like with hiring somebody. That person could have been in a toxic environment all their life in every place they come, and they come here where it's very drama free, no toxicity, but they're their guards up, they're ready to go. And we're like, no. And then as soon as they take it down, they're like, this is not what I'm used to. I'm like, well, yeah, we've been there and we don't want it. Like, we have a zero policy for drama. Like, if we don't want it, and everyone works well. A lot of our team hangs out with each other, and it's nice to see, because then it spills into the workplace of they're having a good time. They're helping each other get, like, they don't even have to ask each other to give them a hand. They just know when they need a hand.
Well, and I think that, the reality is some people come from trauma, and I'm not trying to be funny here when I say this, but you can't overcome trauma if you're living in drama. You can't, because it covers it up, it hides it, and it's like, it's not that you aren't willing to have people come here and be a party. I mean, I've seen, we walked around and we took a tour of your facility, which pretty impressive, by the way, if you're looking to get something fabricated. And I happen to know that they won't say no. But the reality is, it's like, you're not saying, hey, if you're coming from a toxic workplace or you have trauma, don't come here. But they're saying, don't bring the drama so that we can uncover it, we can deal with it, we can work through it.
Yep.
And that's what, so talk about for a little bit, like when I was walking around with you and Sean, it was pretty obvious to me some of the things that you guys said. And so there were two buzzwords that really stuck out to me. And also, it also stuck out to me that it wasn't weird for anyone to see them walking around the floor. These are owners out on the floor in the shop here walking around. But the two buzzwords were communication.
Yes.
And that's a huge part of success, you guys said. And then I heard Sean say this. He said, well, we really try to listen. Can you talk to us about what does that look like at IronStrong? When you guys say communication and listening, talk to me about those things.
So as far as communicating, like we touched on earlier, it's open door. Like, talk to us, a personal problem. If you're struggling financially, Andrew has helped personally. Let's get a budget. Let's do A, B, C, D, E. And if you're starting to veer off, she's going to call you out on it. Okay, this is what you asked for. We're going to help. And just trying to let them know. We don't let, if something's bothering us, we're not going to let it fester, because then it's just going to explode into something. Or if we know
That's good.
something's festering with the our team member, we'll go address it and squash it, or, hey, let's air this out and get it over with. And then it comes down to, oh yeah, it was just something that I shouldn't have bothered, like, let it eat away at me type deal. In both ways, like I said, it's self-accountable. I can't expect that my team to be accountable if I'm not going to be accountable. And if maybe I said something wrong that I don't know about, I hope, and for the most part, they'll come to let us know. We don't want that fear of, oh, they're the owners. If we go speak our mind, we're going to be fired. We don't want that. How
often do you feel like with communication and the narrative that we write in our head, whether you're an employee or you're an owner, how often do you feel like when we hesitate to go communicate about it, we're going down a false narrative where it's like, then we talk about it and we're like, oh, well, I thought this because you did this, this, and this, but you did that because of this. Oh, how often does that happen?
We try and keep it to a minimum here. And I think just having that open channel of communication helps keep that to a minimum.
Yeah.
We really try to make, like I said, listening. I'm with my multitasking, I'm having a conversation, but I'm also listening to what you're saying. So if you're like just talking about their family, what they're dealing with, I'm listening more. It's not just words like, hey, I'm just trying to get a check off. I walked around today to talk to everybody. Listening, what something they're struggling with, what they need or what they're trying to get for it. And all right, how can we help you get to that?
Yeah.
What can we help? Your family is essentially letting you're working here. I spend more time with you than I do with my family, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So we really try and make sure we're taking care of everyone as best as we can.
And you do that through listening.
We do that through listening and just knowing what's driving, what's taking them to motivate, like what's motivating them. Do they want to go? And we'll talk with them. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in a year? What do you want?
Yeah.
And we have guys that are I just want to clock in, go home, get paid. That's it.
So from when you started till now, what do you feel like as far as in the fabrication world, where's salary growth at? Meaning, have you seen growth in like a good living?
So I moved out here in 2010, and I was getting paid $15 an hour. And that's wild to me. I'm like, how? It equates to $30,000 a year. I'm like, how can anybody survive on that? But it was also, I was working at a place in Ephrata where, it's just a lot of that's just kind of what the pay scale was in. But to get more money, you either had to be at a place for a long time that was in for High Steel or Kingsley. Some of those, they were always known for paying a little better, but they're huge companies. And I didn't want to be a number.
Yeah.
I was very big. I didn't want to be a number in a company. I wanted the owners to know who I was. I wanted you to know my name, know my family's name. And now, we're starting, kids right out of school at between $25 and $28 an hour.
Come on.
So it's wild, but
That's awesome.
It's going crazy. But, that's also experience. We have quite a few employees that are way more than that.
Yeah.
But that's where they've earned it, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure we're taking care of them because they are 100% taking care of us and our company. Like, this building's my family.
Yeah.
It's my second family. I'm here more times. Like I'm here usually between 4 and 5 in the morning, you know, leaving at 7 to go home so my wife can go to work. She's a teacher, to get my kids in the bus, come back, leave again at 3 o'clock to get my kids off the bus. Whatever travel sports are going, as soon as I drop my kids off, I'm here working again. So I'm here all the time, but we wouldn't have this, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to do it if we didn't have this team here doing it. And they need to be taken care of for that and motivate them. Because that's when I was growing up. You know, if I was at a place for 3 years and I got a $200 bonus. Why? Yeah. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know, what's incentivizing me, or a 30-cent raise? Like, why am I going to want to keep pushing and keep helping make this company grow? So we, like Sean said, we try and manage the way we want it to be managed. And that's a big portion of it. Yeah. It comes at a heavy burden as far as, you know, out of the checkbook wise, but it doesn't, because it makes them happy and it helps us drive our success of where we want to get to.
So I want to ask you a question. Larry, what's a mistake that you've made that you feel like you're willing to share with us that you've learned from, in life or in business?
So I would say it's recent, and it's more so do as you preach, you know? So I'm very big on, and it's weird coming from me, like, I don't want any drama. I don't want people yelling, you know, level head, have a conversation.
Yeah.
I was having a day last week.
I was having a day,
and I saw one of our guys flying down the aisle with a fork truck, you know, with his forks 4 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And I erupted.
Yeah.
And I went up to him screaming, "You're going to kill someone, put this down." And I walked away. And as soon as I got to my office, I felt horrible.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, and it is. I can apologize. Sometimes it takes a minute for me to cool down and go, apologize. I walked out to him like, "Listen, ma'am, my apologies for his," and he stopped. "No, you don't need to apologize. I was 100." I'm like, "No, I understand you were in the wrong what you're doing, but I was in the wrong for talking to you, talking down to you, which I shouldn't have." I said, "I can't expect you guys to communicate and talk with us a certain way, but me not reciprocate it." And I mean, it is weird, like thinking that something like that wouldn't eat away or catch me, and it did.
Yeah.
It's really I feel gonna help me, instead of reacting.
Yeah.
Instead of just, you know, slowing down the brain, slow down my mouth sometimes too. Like, take a second. I said what I should have done is come up to you, "Hey, slow it down. You're too high. We can't have any injuries. We need everyone going home the way they came in."
Yeah.
You know, so, and that's where I am hoping I could take that and learn from it.
Well, I think that you're on the right track for that, for sure. I mean, my kids have taught me a lot about that. We call it not reacting, but responding.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that is learning your triggers. And when we talk about that and we're working through that, it's like once you learn one, then you're going to find another one. And I mean, literally, life is like an onion. And the more that you reflect on yourself and that you look at things like that, well, in 3 years from now, once you've dealt with that and you respond to people now in that situation, well, you're going to see 3 other things that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's what learning and growing is.
Yeah. Which
only is possible through listening and communicating.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is wild how it even just organically transfers. So my daughter does travel soccer. She just got her evals back for the fall. And one of her thing is she comes off too bossy when she's on the field.
Wonder where she gets that from.
Yeah. And that's where I'm looking like. So we're talking, and an example, I was like, "Hey," she's like, "Hey girls, let's go, get on your toes." You know, and I explained to them, like, "Brielle, say, like, do you see
That's a beautiful name, by the way.
Hey, thank you. Brielle, go clean your room. How does that sound? Like you're telling me to go do something." And I said, "All right, add, hey, let's go tackle, or let's go clean your room. How does that sound?"
Yeah.
Like you want to help.
Yeah.
Is what she said. I'm like, "You're 10 years old. That's awesome." So I'm like, so now take that into sports.
Yeah.
"Hey girls, let's go. Let's get on our feet. Let's get motivated." Like, it's just adding a couple little words.
Yeah.
How much that changes how it's interpreted. You may not be thinking it's coming off bossy, but the words you're using is what's interpreted. That's what I'm very big on. Like you said, trying to make sure I use the right vocabulary.
Yeah.
With ones, because I may be speaking it and it's coming off. That's why emails and texts drive me nuts sometimes.
Because there's no tone.
And I am 100%. I'll get an email from a customer and I'm reading it a certain way, and I'll just, all right, let's respond. And I always delete what I write first.
Yeah.
And then go back and do it.
Well, and to that point, I've been in that same situation And I've stopped myself and picked up the phone and called a client and been
Yes.
like, so I'm reading this email. Can you help me understand?
Yep.
And that's where I was talking about. When I call people and I communicate, often my perspective or what I thought was being communicated is not what was being communicated.
Yes.
But if
Yep.
I didn't pick up the phone and call them, I would have continued to go down that road and we might have
Yep.
lost a client. And they're
Yep.
like, yeah, that's not what I was saying at all.
Yeah.
I literally have people have complimented me and our team in an email, but wrote it in a way that it did not come across that way.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, pick up the phone, communicate, listen,
Yeah.
work together as a team.
Yep. That's where I love talking on the phone or face to face.
Yeah.
Like we try, especially around this time of year or twice a year, mainly around Christmas, we'll go to a lot of our clients and, hey, let's go out to lunch. Let's go out to dinner. And we just talk, just putting the face. I see you through the screen.
I
I want to be
100%.
face to face.
That's why we don't do these podcasts virtually.
Yep.
We can't have this interaction through a screen. You know, yeah, in the world that we live in, we have to do that. I have a conference call with someone from Colorado after this, and it's like, it won't be face to face. I would really love to be in Colorado right now. But the point being, sometimes you have to use technology, but when you can, you need that face to face communication.
Yes,
for sure.
100%.
So, well, Larry, I appreciate you inviting us in here to see what IronStrong is doing. I think that this is pretty exciting. What would you say to your leadership team? Because I'm thinking that they might listen to this. What would you say to them is the number one thing here, celebrating your 6th year, that you appreciate about all of them?
Their honesty.
Yeah.
And holding me accountable.
Yeah.
And then also allowing me to have a life with my family. You know, I think that would be something that all 4 of us would say. There's 4 of us, which has helped us. I can go home. You know, I'm still 6 years in the business, but we're growing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing my family all the time. I could see them in the morning.
Yeah.
I could see them in the evenings. You know, we've been blessed where other entrepreneurs have not. They're working around the clock. They're not seeing their family. We've been very blessed, and it's been, you know, the 3 of them have really been a godsend to helping me grow as a person and a professional.
Yeah. Awesome. Where can people find you if they have metal fabrication needs? Where do they find IronStrong?
So you can go to search us on Google, IronStrongMetalFabrication.com. We are on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram. We're kind of all over the place.
Awesome. I love to hear that.
Yep. So that's really what we're striving. You know, this year we're doing a really big marketing campaign. It's all been word of mouth.
That's the best kind.
Yep.
That is the best kind.
Yes.
Larry, thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
stepping
Thank
up
you.
to the line.
Appreciate it.